Welcome back to ABC General Hospital Spoilers channel. Today we will learn about the issues surrounding Willow Tait and the devastating direction her storyline appears to be headed. Recent episodes have left fans deeply concerned about the mental and emotional state of one of Port Charles' most beloved characters, and the implications of what might unfold in the coming weeks have sparked intense debate throughout the General Hospital community. Willow's downward spiral intensifies. The warning signs have been mounting for weeks now, and it appears that Willow Tait is careening toward what could potentially become the darkest chapter of her entire life. The once vibrant young woman who brought light and warmth to everyone around her has been transformed into a shadow of her former self, weighed down by circumstances that seem to grow more oppressive with each passing day. Viewers have watched with growing alarm as Willow's behavior has become increasingly erratic and concerning, particularly in recent episodes where her comments have taken on a tone that many find deeply troubling. During several recent scenes, Willow has made statements that have sent chills down the spines of longtime fans. Her fixation on being exonerated from the legal troubles that have plagued her has reached what many consider an unhealthy level of obsession. More alarming still are her repeated declarations about needing to get her children back, coupled with the heartbreaking admission that her kids represent the only reason she continues to exist at all. These aren't just passing comments or momentary expressions of frustration. They represent a pattern of thinking that mental health professionals would immediately recognize as deeply problematic and potentially indicative of someone in crisis. The mental health crisis no one can ignore. The speculation swirling around Port Charles and throughout the fan community has reached a fever pitch, with many viewers convinced that Willow is teetering on the edge of a complete mental breakdown. The consensus among those who have been following her storyline closely is that she's dealing with far more than just the typical soap opera drama. This appears to be a legitimate mental health emergency that the show may be building toward with deliberate and careful attention to detail. The writers seem to be laying the groundwork for something truly devastating, and all signs point toward Willow potentially making an attempt on her own life in the near future. This wouldn't be the first time General Hospital has tackled the sensitive subject of suicide, but it would mark one of the most significant explorations of mental health crisis in recent memory. The show has a responsibility to handle such storylines with care and authenticity, and fans are watching closely to see whether the writers will treat this subject matter with the gravity it deserves. The possibility that Willow might attempt to take her own life has created a sense of dread among viewers who have invested years in her character's journey and desperately want to see her find happiness rather than tragedy. What makes this potential storyline even more heart-wrenching is the context surrounding it. Willow hasn't simply woken up one day and decided life isn't worth living. She's been systematically stripped of everything that gave her life meaning and purpose. Her children, the very heartbeat of her existence, have been taken from her. Her reputation has been shattered. Her relationships have crumbled. And perhaps most damaging of all, her involvement with Cain has left her emotionally devastated and spiritually bankrupt in ways that may take years to fully comprehend. Fan outrage reaches boiling point. The General Hospital fan community has never been one to remain silent when they disagree with storyline decisions. And the current situation with Willow has ignited a firestorm of criticism on social media platforms. Fans have taken to Twitter, Facebook, and various soap opera forums to express their frustration, anger, and deep disappointment with the direction the show appears to be taking. The comments section of every spoiler article and YouTube video has become a battleground where passionate viewers debate the merits and failures of Willow's current trajectory. One particularly pointed comment that has resonated with many viewers captures the essence of the frustration. "If the show gives Willow and that monster Drew the kids, I'm done. There's only so much nonsense one can take. They are the most dysfunctional, damaged, delusional duo ever. That should never be allowed to be around children, let alone raise them." This sentiment reflects a widespread belief that Willow and Drew together represent a toxic combination that would be harmful not just to themselves, but to any children in their care. The characterization of Drew as a monster speaks volumes about how far his character has fallen in the eyes of many fans who once admired him. The comparison to previous suicide storylines hasn't been lost on the audience either. Another fan pointed out the last suicide attempt was Sunny and that was used to prop him up about how good of a father he was while Molly and TJ lost their baby. This comment highlights a persistent concern among General Hospital viewers that the show often uses traumatic storylines to rehabilitate problematic characters while simultaneously ignoring or minimizing the suffering of more deserving characters. The fear is that Willow's potential suicide attempt will be used as a vehicle to make Drew look sympathetic or to advance his character development at the expense of her genuine suffering. Creative alternatives and fan suggestions. Not all fan commentary has been purely negative or critical. Some viewers have taken a more constructive approach, offering creative suggestions for how the show could handle Willow's crisis in a way that feels both authentic and ultimately hopeful. One particularly intriguing proposal has gained significant traction online. I'd rather the show do something creative and show Willow getting exonerated and getting her kids back and have it revealed that she's actually in a psych ward paid for by Michael or Nina. By Kevin, and the judge's recommendation after Willow has another breakdown in court, no matter the result, that's read to everyone. This alternative storyline suggestion represents a fascinating blend of dramatic tension and realistic mental health treatment. Rather than having Willow attempt suicide and face the typical soap opera aftermath, this approach would show her getting the legal vindication she desperately craves while simultaneously addressing the underlying mental health issues that have brought her to this breaking point. The involvement of Kevin Collins, Port Charles resident psychiatrist, would lend medical credibility to the storyline. While the financial support from either Michael or Na would demonstrate that despite all the conflict and drama, there are still people in Willow's life who genuinely care about her well-being. The courtroom breakdown element adds another layer of dramatic possibility. Imagine Willow finally hearing the words she's been longing for, that she's been cleared of all charges and can reclaim her children, only to have the emotional weight of everything she's endured finally crashed down on her in that moment. The judge and Kevin recognizing that she needs professional help rather than immediate custody would be a bold and realistic choice that few soap operas would have the courage to make. It would acknowledge that winning a legal battle doesn't automatically heal psychological wounds. The Drew factor and its devastating impact. No discussion of Willow's current crisis would be complete without examining the role that Cain has played in her deterioration. Their relationship, which began under questionable circumstances and has only grown more problematic over time, represents one of the most controversial pairings in recent General Hospital history. Drew, once portrayed as a heroic and principled man, has devolved into someone many fans no longer recognize or respect. His involvement with Willow has been characterized by manipulation, poor judgment, and a shocking disregard for the consequences of their actions. The years Willow has spent entangled with Drew have taken an undeniable toll on her psyche and her soul. She's made choices she never would have considered before meeting him. Abandoned principles she once held dear and alienated people who genuinely loved and supported her. The cumulative effect of these decisions and experiences has left her isolated, vulnerable, and increasingly unstable. Drew's influence hasn't been merely negative. It's been actively destructive, eroding Willow's sense of self, and leading her questioning everything she once believed about who she was and what she stood for. The long road to rock bottom. If there's one thing soap opera fans understand, it's that characters often must hit absolute rock bottom before they can begin the journey back to redemption and healing. Willow appears to be on that trajectory now, hurtling toward a breaking point that will force everyone around her to confront the severity of her situation. The speculation isn't whether she'll hit rock bottom, but rather how devastating that impact will be and who will be there to help her pick up the pieces afterward. The coming weeks promise to be emotionally grueling for viewers who have invested in Willow's character. Whether she attempts to take her own life, suffers a complete mental breakdown, or finds some other way to express the depths of her despair, it's clear that things will get significantly worse before they have any chance of getting better. The show appears committed to taking Willow through a dark night of the soul, and fans can only hope that on the other side of this darkness, there might be light, healing, and the possibility of genuine happiness. What lies ahead for Port Charles' troubled soul? The uncertainty surrounding Willow's future has created a palpable sense of tension among General Hospital viewers. Will the show take the bold step of actually showing a suicide attempt complete with all its raw and painful reality? Will they pull back at the last moment and find another way to dramatize her crisis? Or will they surprise everyone with a completely different direction that no one has anticipated? The only certainty is that Willow Tait's story is far from over, and the chapters yet to be written may be the most important of her entire character arc. As we watch this storyline unfold, it's worth remembering that behind the drama and speculation, there's an opportunity for General Hospital to tell a meaningful story about mental health, trauma recovery, and the long road back from the brink of despair. Whether they'll seize that opportunity or squander, it remains to be seen. But one thing is certain, fans will be watching closely, commenting passionately, and hoping desperately that Willow finds her way back to the light. Next, we will learn about the explosive developments surrounding Selena Wu's dangerous chess game in Port Charles and how multiple lives hang in the balance as her web of manipulation grows. Ever more complex and treacherous, Curtis Ashford's deadly request. Curtis Ashford made what could be the most catastrophic decision of his entire life when he approached the notorious crime boss Selena Wu with an unthinkable proposition. In a moment of rage and desperation, Curtis actually requested that Selena eliminate Cain from the picture permanently. The fury that drove Curtis to this drastic measure stemmed from Drew's complicated entanglement with his wife, Portia Robinson, which had created fractures in Curtis's marriage that seemed beyond repair. However, almost immediately after setting this deadly chain of events into motion, Curtis experienced profound buyer's remorse. The problem is that in Selena Wu's world, you cannot simply take back a hit order like returning unwanted merchandise to a department store. Curtis quickly realized the gravity of what he had done and attempted to call off the arrangement. But Selena is not the type of woman who accepts cancellations gracefully. She operates under a different code entirely, one where favors asked become debts owed, and those debts must eventually be paid in full. Curtis may think he dodged a bullet by changing his mind, but in reality, he is only deep in his entanglement with one of Port Charles's most dangerous power brokers, Selena Wu's iron grip on Port Charles. Selena Wu has established herself as one of the most formidable and ruthless gangsters operating in Port Charles. Her empire is built on fear, loyalty, and an intricate understanding of human weakness. She knows exactly how to identify what people want most and how to use those desires as leverage against them. Selena views every person in her orbit not as an individual with rights and dignity, but as a potential asset to be exploited for her benefit. This cold, calculating approach to human relationships makes her particularly dangerous because she has no qualms about sacrificing anyone who becomes inconvenient or unprofitable. The way Selena has consistently treated her own nephew Brad Cooper serves as a perfect illustration of her ruthless worldview. Despite their blood relationship, Selena has never hesitated to use Brad as cattle, treating him like property rather than family. She has manipulated him, coerced him, and forced him into situations that compromised his morals and endangered his freedom. Brad has found himself under Selena's thumb on multiple occasions, and each time he has absolutely hated the experience of being controlled by his aunt's iron will. Nevertheless, Brad has repeatedly been persuaded or coerced into carrying out Selena's dirty work. He has facilitated her shady business operations, helped her move illegal goods, and served as her eyes and ears in places where she cannot go herself. Brad's compliance has never been willing or enthusiastic. Rather, he has operated under the crushing weight of having no real choice in the matter. Selena has made it abundantly clear that defiance carries consequences he cannot afford to face. So, Brad continues to play his assigned role in her criminal enterprise. When Selena needs something accomplished that she cannot trust to ordinary hired muscle or expendable criminal associates, she invariably turns to Brad. His medical background, his connections at General Hospital, and his desperate need to stay in her good graces make him the perfect instrument for her most sensitive operations. Brad has become her reluctant but reliable fixer, the person she deploys when discretion and competence are absolutely essential to success. The Britt Westbend connection. This pattern of using Brad raises an extremely significant million-dollar question that could reshape the entire power dynamic in Port Charles. Does Britt Westbend possess something that Selena Wu desperately wants? The timing of certain recent events suggests this possibility cannot be dismissed lightly. Brad currently knows very little concrete information about the mysterious and dangerous Jen Sidwell. except for the limited details that Britt has shared with him during their recent reunion. Britt Westben has made a shocking return from the dead, defying all expectations and medical probability to walk back into Port Charles very much alive. Since her miraculous resurrection and return to town, Britt has become deeply inched in highly classified and extraordinarily dangerous cold fusion experiments. These are not ordinary scientific endeavors. Cold fusion research operates at the intersection of physics, chemistry, and geopolitical intrigue. Touching upon technologies that could revolutionize energy production, or serve as the foundation for devastating new weapon systems, Britt finds herself involved in work that attracts attention from intelligence agencies, foreign governments, and criminal organizations, all seeking to exploit or control this revolutionary technology. During a memorable dinner that ended in a dramatic dine and dash when Britt couldn't pay the bill, she opened up to Brad about the disturbing nature of her current employment situation. Britt revealed that she is involved with radioactive materials and cutting-edge science that pushes the boundaries of what is legally and ethically permissible. She spoke about cold fusion research that potentially violates international treaties designed to prevent weapons proliferation. She casually mentioned working with materials and processes that could be weaponized to create bombs of unprecedented destructive capability. Perhaps most chillingly, Britt explained to Brad that the kind of employers she currently works for do not offer retirement plans. This coded language made it perfectly clear that once someone becomes involved in Sidwell's operation, the only way out is death. These are people who eliminate loose ends rather than allowing former employees to walk away with dangerous knowledge. Britt painted a picture of an organization operating completely outside normal legal and ethical boundaries, willing to do whatever proves necessary to protect their secrets and advance their agenda. Selena's strategic interest. If Selena Wu has developed an interest in learning more about Jen Sidwell's operation and the revolutionary technology at the center of it, she has a perfect information pipeline already in place. All Selena needs to do is leverage Brad to gather intelligence via his friendship and history with Britt. Brad would have no choice but to comply if Selena ordered him to cultivate his relationship with Britt. Ask strategic questions and report everything back to his aunt. This would allow Selena to gain crucial insights into Sidwell's operation without exposing herself to any direct risk or revealing her interest to potential competitors. The strategic value of cold fusion technology to someone like Selena cannot be overstated. If she could gain access to this technology or leverage information about it, she could exponentially expand her power and influence. She could sell information to the highest bidder, blackmail people involved in the research, or even attempt to seize control of aspects of the operation for herself. For a criminal mastermind like Selena, Britt Westben represents not just a source of information, but potentially a gateway to wealth and power beyond anything she currently commands. Curtis cannot simply walk away. When Curtis arranged for Selena to orchestrate Drew Cain's permanent removal and then attempted to reverse course, he fundamentally misunderstood the nature of the agreement he had entered. In Curtis's mind, perhaps he thought changing his mind quickly enough would make the whole thing go away, like canceling an order before it ships. However, nothing works that cleanly or simply in the world of organized crime and professional killers. Once you set certain wheels in motion with people like Selena Wu, those wheels keep turning regardless of your second thoughts. Selena will absolutely not treat Curtis's reversal as something as trivial and forgivable as missing a coffee date with an old friend. She is fundamentally a shark who keeps meticulous receipts of every favor granted, every deal made, and every obligation incurred. Selena's memory is perfect when it comes to who owes her what, and she never forgets a debt. Curtis now owes her something significant and she will collect payment when the time is right and in whatever form proves most advantageous to her interests. Remember that Selena was also the person who handed Drew concrete evidence against Portia Robinson. Evidence that could have destroyed Portia's career and reputation. This act demonstrated Selena's willingness to insert herself into the personal lives of Port Charles residents when it serves her purposes. If Selena kept proof of her involvement in providing that evidence to Drew, she now possesses yet another bargaining chip to use against Curtis. She can threaten to reveal his wife's secrets or expose Portia to legal jeopardy unless Curtis cooperates with whatever Selena demands. Beyond the Portia situation, Selena also has the explosive leverage of knowing that Curtis ordered a hit on Cain, who is not just any ordinary citizen, but a sitting United States congressman. Ordering the murder of a federal legislator is an incredibly serious crime that would result in severe federal prosecution and a lengthy prison sentence. Curtis has handed Selena the kind of blackmail material that gives her nearly unlimited power over him. She can essentially force Curtis to do whatever she wants because the alternative is life in prison for conspiracy to commit murder of a government official. Selena's dual dangerous games. The backdoor poker mastermind Selena Wu appears to be running not one but two incredibly dangerous games simultaneously in Port Charles. On one front, she is manipulating Curtis and holding the threat of exposing his murder-for-hire plot over his head. On another front, she is potentially positioning herself to exploit the volatile situation surrounding Britt Westman, Jen Sidwell, and the cold fusion research that could reshape global power dynamics. Both of these operations carry enormous risks, but also promise tremendous rewards for someone skilled and ruthless enough to navigate the treacherous waters. Selena's poker games have always been about more than cards and gambling money. They serve as venues where she gathers intelligence, builds relationships with powerful people, and creates situations where she gains leverage over individuals who could prove useful. Her entire criminal empire is built on information, blackmail, and strategic manipulation rather than brute force alone. She understands that true power comes from knowing secrets and being willing to use that knowledge without hesitation or mercy. The convergence of these two storylines suggests that Port Charles is heading toward a crisis point where Selena's machinations could explode spectacularly. If Curtis refuses to cooperate with whatever demands she makes, she could destroy his life by exposing the murder plot. If her interest in Sidwell's operation becomes known to the wrong people, she could find herself targeted by international criminal organizations or intelligence agencies who do not appreciate competition. Selena is playing an extraordinarily high-stakes game where one wrong move could bring her entire empire crashing down around her. Yet, she shows no signs of backing away from the table.